Second round of games coming to a close. Indiana season is coming to an end. We check in with Locked On Hoosiers. Jacob, obviously this was a tough one to watch for you, I'm sure, especially kind of looked like they were going to make a little run in the second half there, and then Miami just completely crushed them after that.
Yeah, it was a frustrating game from the get-go. They fall behind early. And like you said, they made a run in the end of the first half and then into the second half that looked like they were going to make this a game. But yeah, it was a lot of things that went wrong for them, a lot of kind of familiar patterns for Indiana. But I think the offensive rebounding is the one that killed them the most in that second half. And it's an effort thing that kind of makes it more frustrating. They always call rebounding the effort stat. And so to go out that way really made it frustrating. And I think just going out with Trace Jackson Davis going out like this as well was a real bummer too.
When you face off against a team like Miami, obviously they had a really big run last year, so they kind of been there and know how to deal with that sort of situation. Did you feel like Indiana was just kind of was it the matchup getting to them, or what kind of got in their head early? Because it seemed like they were just off a bit.
Yeah, part of it was the matchup, just the personnel that Miami had they have probably one of the best backcourts in the country, the ACC Player of the Year, and IU has struggled against teams that have kind of guards that can spread the floor out. And that's exactly how Miami took the lead early on. IU kind of responded, but that's really what got them into problems. And I mean, the experience isn't a bad thing. And Coach Larinaga from Miami talked about that afterwards, that there were times he didn't call a timeout because he trusted his guys to kind of get through that. This was a lot of Indiana guys that their only experience in the NCAA tournament was getting thumped last year by St. Mary's. So there was a pretty big experience gap there that I'm certain kind of played into that as well. And that's why Miami kind of came out with that urgency from the get-go and Indiana didn't.
Looking forward a little bit, when you talk about, there isn't a ton of experience, right? You exit in the first round, now make it a little bit farther this year. What do you want to see going forward with the team next year in terms of growth and trying to make this serious run with it?
It's going to be a fascinating offseason. There's going to be a lot of talent to replace for Indiana. 3 seniors in that starting lineup, and one of them being Trace Jackson Davis. Those are going to be enormous shoes to fill. So you want to build off this a little bit, and we'll see if Jalen Hood-Schifino comes back. I'd be surprised if he did, but there were some guys that got some important minutes during the NCAA tournament that could turn into kind of that experience that they need. But there's going to be a lot of change kind of regardless, I think, with just the way the team was built and relying on so many upperclassmen this season. So we'll see if some of those younger guys that did get minutes, if this kind of catapults them into the offseason moving forward. But there aren't going to be a lot of them, I think, coming back next year. It's going to be a really fascinating offseason to watch now.
Tough end of the year, Jake. I'm sure you'll go over everything on Locked On Hoosiers, recap it all for everybody. We have you covered on Locked On College Basketball. And of course, everything is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.